Hey everybody, welcome to the round 3 player ratings video here on the Blue Abroad YouTube channel. 3-0, literally can't stop saying it. It's the morning after, the day before. For those of you who are new to the player ratings, welcome to the show, welcome to the channel. For those of you returning, welcome back. Basically what I like to do here, I like to give suggestions for every player in their individual situation as to how they played. And then I like to encourage you to finish off the ratings in the comments below. So I'll start the conversation, you end it, you let me know if they're too high or too low and what you would actually do and what you would actually rate each player. What I like to do personally is I like to look at each individual and not compare them to other players in the team, but just their personal circumstance, you know, the point in their careers, if they're a young player, if they're a debutant. If they're early in their career and they perform well, they probably get a few extra points. You know, if they're a senior player, I think there's a bit more expectation on them and their performance. So I look at it a little bit differently. What Cripps gets has absolutely nothing to do with what Sam Dougherty gets or what Zach Williams gets. So that's how I do it. Now these videos, these play ratings videos are brought to you by Doing a Bit, activewear range, comfy hoodies, t-shirts, the whole range is there. Have a look in the link in the description. Check him out. Mark is the founder of the company. He's a mad Carlton fan as well. So it's been a pleasure working with him. So listen, without any further ado, we need to get stuck right into this. I'm going to talk about the team as it was named. Now, Jordan Boyd, he debuted. Obviously, Sard was out with health and safety protocols. So, you know, later in the week, he's finding out that he's playing his first game for the Carlton Football Club at the MCG, you know, in front of 6,000 people, and you know what a moment for him, what an experience for him. Obviously he had to come into the league the hard way. He's done the hard yards, he's played in the reserves, he's earned his spot and he's earned his chance, and the coaches clearly like what he has to offer. Gave him a 6. I thought it was a nice debut. Obviously got some things to work on, of course, it's his first game, but I must say I was pretty surprised at how okay he was. I thought he would look really out of sorts, and there were a couple of moments where he'll learn from, but overall I think it was a solid debut, and you know, wishing him luck and obviously congratulating him and the work that he's put in to get himself into the situation that he is. So well done to him. Lewis Young, he's another one that surprised me for the good. Now when I first watched him play or train, he was a bit fumbly. Maybe it was just that particular moment that I was watching. Maybe it was just that session. And I just thought to myself, maybe he needs a bit of time before he's playing. I like the fact that he played in the reserves and now he's into the ones. Obviously, Oscar McDonald going down presented that opportunity, as well as Mitch McGovern. I mean, based off my rhetoric, like, he's gone at 100%. He's had 10 disposals. He defended well. He marked the ball when he needed to. I don't really know what more I can ask of him as a fan. I thought he was great for his role, his specific role, his debut game for the club. I had it as a 10, then I put it back to a 9. Then I started thinking, well, what else do you really want from him this early in his career at the Carlton Football Club? So I'm going to put it as a 9, but I just wanted to give him a 10. And maybe I should in the end, but I'll let you talk about that in the comments. Lockie Plowman, I want to talk about this. There's 2 things that I didn't like. Number 1, why were people booing him before the game? Can you, like, it was really uncomfortable when I heard it and when I was told about it, that people were booing him. And I mean, yeah, okay, you might not like that he plays, you might have an issue with him being in the side, but he was the option. The coaching group picked the team, and I just wonder why we need to do that on game day, why we're booing our own players. That's a real Essendon thing to do. You know, he's there representing the club. He's there to give his best. He's there to give his all. It's a new group. It's a new direction. And, you know, we've got a few injuries as well, which is probably why he's playing. I think if Stocker and Sard and McGovern and whatnot are all available, I don't know if he's in the side, but I thought it was really distasteful. And I actually think he did a really good job. People, for whatever reason, wanted to attribute Jack Gunston's 4 goals on Lockie Plowman. I thought Lockie Plowman played more on Chad Wingard than anyone else. So I gave him a 7 for his game. I thought he did his job. He defended well. I thought when Chad Wingard went forward, it was a non-factor. I thought Lockie Plowman really had a close eye on him And I just found it really uncomfortable, if I'm honest, to hear our own fans booing a player before the game even begins. So I don't know. Make of that what you will. That's my opinion. That's how I see it. I think we are better than that. I don't think we would be very proud of, or we should be very proud of doing that. Next up, half-back line, Zach Williams, Jacob Wiedering, Nick Newman. Zach Williams, I thought he's kicking again. The kicking display, he's looking fitter, as I said last week. He's getting a bit more of the ball. He had the 27 touches, used the ball well. He's just, we needed him yesterday when Sard was out. I thought we really needed him to lift and sort of lead down back there. I thought he and Nick Newman, who I'll touch on shortly, and Sam Dougherty were exceptional. He's gone at 77%. I thought there were crucial contests and crucial kicks that needed to be made, and he did make them. And he had 623 metres gained as well. So I loved his game. I gave him a 9. I think there's a little bit more improvement to come as well. I think he can be even better than that. But if we're getting 27 touches from him and he's kicking the ball like that and he's giving us meterage and he's giving us field position the way he did yesterday, that's what we want from him. Well, that's what I want from him. Wiedering, thought he was sensational on a day where you're looking at his situation. You're losing Oscar McDonald. You're losing Mitch McGovern. You're losing Adam Sard. Wiedering really is the guy that patrols things down back there. He's the anchor to our defence, and had the job on Mitch Lewis, who was in mighty good form leading into this game, and I thought he was exceptional. The game-saving mark was just beautiful. One of those little moments along in his career that I think we will look back on and just see the progression of how he's going. And, he's in his 7th year. It's just hard to believe how far into the career some of these boys are. And I'm just proud of him. And I know he's been good for a while now, but it's just so good to see him really standing up in those crunch moments. So I gave him a 10 for his game. I thought he was exceptional. Nick Newman, I didn't think he got enough love yesterday. I saw him really lifting in critical contests. Kicking was good. The work rate behind the ball was good. The direction was good. He ended up with the 21 touches and the 5 marks and the 5 tackles. Used the ball at 85% disposal efficiency. And like I said, just in the critical moments, I thought he stood up and gave us a relief kick or made the right option and utilised that right option. And yeah, I thought he lifted on a day when we needed him too. So I gave him a 9 for his game. The centre line, this has been the same centre line for 3 weeks in a row, by the way. Setterfield, Cripps and O'Brien. Setterfield, I just think he's progressing little bit by little bit each game. I think he's doing a really good job out there on the wing. I think he looks so much better. I don't know how we're going to work him into this role and how it's going to evolve, but his hands in traffic are as good as what I think we have in the team. He's really good at just getting those ground ball gets, no matter who's around him, and getting that handball out into space. And, the kicking and the body positioning, I think that'll come. I think that'll evolve and that'll improve as the year goes on. But I like the trajectory that Will Setterfield is now back on after, a bit of a down 2021. But I'm loving what I'm seeing from him. I gave him an 8 for his game. And, there's room for improvement there, as there is with all of them. But I think he is definitely on the right path again, and it's a bit of a relief, to be honest. Cripper, I gave him a 10. He's our warrior. I did toy with giving him a 9, if I'm honest. I thought there were a couple of moments in that 4th quarter when the heat was really on, where he just didn't make the right option or made a handball, turned the ball over with the handball later in that game. Just little things that I was just a little frustrated with, but it was a tough game. It's intense. At the end of the day, when Cripps is laying 11 tackles, that's Patrick Cripps at his best, and I have nothing else to say. 31 possessions, 11 tackles, kicked a goal. I thought he led the way he needed to, especially in that first half when it was all up for grabs. I just think he's had the perfect start to the season that we could have asked for pre-season. So I'm happy with where he's at, with a few more bits of improvement to come in his decision-making under pressure, but the rest will all have that same notion applied to them. So Cripper got a 10. Lockie O'Brien, I also gave him an 8. And very much like Will Setterfield, I'm proud of just where he's at in terms of being back on that right trajectory. You know, it's just been a bit of a struggle for him for whatever reason, form, fitness, body, coaching, himself, whatever it is. It's in the past. I think the start to his season in 2022 has been really good, and I think he should take pride in where he's come from and where he is right now, and he's had to really dig in, and I think he's starting to reap the benefits of that. Beautiful kick, laid a sick tackle right in front of me, which I love to see, and I'm hoping that the rest of the fan base get around him. The other part about his game was his work rate. I'm not sure how many kilometres he ran, but took 8 marks, just provided an option around the ground where we needed it, and yeah, I think he's coming along nicely, like I said. So I gave him an 8. The half forward line, Charlie Curnow, Tom De Koning, and Sam Walsh. Charlie, I gave him an 8. I thought he just dwindled down a little bit in that second half, but goodness me, his first half was exciting. Some of the marks he took were very athletic, and it was kind of like the old Charlie. Dare I say the old Charlie? I don't know if that even is a thing, because he's still quite young. But yeah, he's looking good. He's looking better. I made this comment last week. I didn't expect him to look like this until a little bit later in the season, but if he's kicking 2-3 goals a game and Harry's doing the same, we can't ask for too much more. I think the next layer is just to get a little bit better, get a little bit more consistent throughout the 4 quarters, and he's still always providing an option. He's still bringing the ball to ground and all those things. But yeah, I gave him an 8 for his game. Tom De Koning, I gave him a 6 for his game. I don't know, I've been saying it for the last few weeks. I just sense that he's just almost there. He's had quite a few now, just almost games where you just think if he's a half an inch quicker or half a step quicker, he's going to get to that ball, mark that ball, spoil that ball, lay that tackle. He's just getting there. I think he's definitely one that we're going to persist with, and I think he's coming along nicely. I feel like he needs the game, just the 4-quarter performance to just get him that confidence that he can build off. But, he's coming along nicely, did some nice things, sort of was in and out of the game, but that's just the nature of where he's at in his development. And you've got to remember that he's put on quite a bit of size compared to this time last year and, the year before that. So I like where he's going. Gave him a 6. Walshy, he just keeps on going. Just keeps on going. He had the 32 possessions, used the ball at 78%, had quite a few more uncontested possessions. So he played a little bit more of an outside role, did it well, provided an option, was a good link in the chains, did his thing, laid the 1 tackle, which is a little low on what he is capable of. I think he's definitely a guy that can give us 3 to 5 tackles a game. He averaged nearly 5 tackles a game last year. So I think that'll come. But, second game back off a syndesmosis surgery. So I gave him a 9 for his game. The forward line, Owies, Mackay and Durden. Matt Owies, I'm excited. I'm excited to see him play like that. I think round 1 was probably Corey Durden's game. I think round 2 was Owies. And then in round 3, I think the both of them impacted in a very similar way. Owies I think that was low-key his best game for the club. I really do. He was everywhere, especially early, laying tackles, providing an option, hitting up targets. What we got from him and Durden, I think is all that we can really ask for. I think there was a bit of commentary around how in the second half they weren't getting to the feet of the big boys in those contests, but I noticed them a lot more up the ground in the second half. So I'm a little unsure. It's very hard, first of all, when you're not, a former AFL player, a coach, when you're just a fan watching it, it's a bit hard to know what the instruction is. So I wonder if it was just an instruction for them to play a little bit more up the ground in the second half. But I did notice that both of them weren't just at the feet of the contest a bit more than what they were in the first half compared to the second. So it's an interesting one. I'd love to hear your commentary around that. Maybe if you were watching on the screen, maybe you would have heard something different or seen something different. But nonetheless, Owies was solid. I gave him a 9 for his game. I loved what I saw from him. I think had they not faded out a little bit, I probably would have given them both a 10. That probably gives it Corey Durden's rating away. But Harry Mackay, I gave him a 7. Thought he was solid without being over the top. Kicked his 2 goals, presented, led well. I think there's a bit more that he can give us as well. A couple of things that I loved. There were 2 specific chase downs that he did. And I spoke about this early in the year before the season started, that I wanted to see Harry use that speed and not get complacent now that he's, signed the big contract, which can happen to professional athletes in world sport. You get that big contract and you're just not as hungry, it seems, but his chasing and his willingness to do that really lifts us. And I don't remember who he chased down. I think it was in the third, definitely in the second half, but it just lifted the crowd and it lifted us up. So I gave him a 7. I don't know if that's a little harsh. Let me know what you think about that. Durden, like I said with Owies, gave him a 9. He's second-year player. He's playing, I think it was his 5th game. So he is just coming along nicely, and I always try and remember where they're at in their careers. This is game 5, and he looks in place. He doesn't look like he's out of place. I just think he's going from strength to strength. I think he's only going to get better. The way he applies himself, I just hope it never ends. I don't know what is in his brain, but whatever it is that ticks over, that when the opposition have the ball, he's like a cheetah just preying on a kill, and he just chases to kill. And I hope he never loses that, because that is infectious, and that is what we feed off, that type of energy. Even if he doesn't lay the tackle, just that inferred pressure of having him sprinting at you as an opposition player, I can't even imagine what that's like. So I love what he's bringing to us. I gave him a 9 as well. The followers, Pitto, Chera, and Hewitt. Pitto, gave Pitto some love this week. I gave him an 8. I'm not sure what the situation is with the back. I heard Vossi's presser. He said that it was a back issue. I hope it's not too serious, but I think he is unheralded, very much like Jack Silvani, who I'll touch on shortly, but loved his game, competes in the air, does the tough stuff in the clinches, and I think he's a job doer, and he does his job week in, week out. So I gave him an 8. Chera had the 23 touches and didn't look as prolific as what we saw last time, but you look at a game that he had yesterday, I just think he's got levels to improve and get better on that, but still a really good game. If that's the lower end of what we're going to be getting from him, it just goes to show where he's at in his development, where the difference between his best and his worst is not that big. So he still had a pretty impactful game, but you know that he can be getting those 30 possession games like he did in round 1. And it's not going to happen every week. That's just the way it is. The game is going to be different week to week, the situations, the roles and whatnot. So I look forward to seeing him with Walsh just working off each other, and with Hewitt in there as well. So I gave him a 7. George Hewitt, I gave him a 9, is another one that just, I don't think the footy world understands how good he is. I don't think they do. I don't think he gets anywhere near the kudos that he deserves. He had 28 possessions, went at 78% disposal efficiency, and laid 9 tackles. When that game heated up, and even when the Hawks were coming at us hard and they got in front, just George Hewitt in the contest. And it's so good to see him with Cripps, and I wonder what Cripps feels like having Hewitt in the side, because I think Hewitt is just as strong as what Patrick Cripps is. He's just so hard to tackle, and he's so hard at the contest, and he's been such a welcome addition, and I'm going to make sure that he does not get overlooked by anyone, because I love what he's brought to the side. So I gave him a 9. The bench, have a look at this for a bench. Jack Silvani, Kennedy, Dougherty, and Zach Fisher. Jack Silvani, he has an incredible ability. Obviously, it's him, it's the story, it's the family, it's the legacy, but it's just an incredible ability that when he does something positive to impact a game, there's just a little bit extra emotion, a little bit extra feeling, and I'd love to know how he sees that, and if he feels that. I'm sure he does. I just can't speak highly enough of Jack Silvani and how much I love him, and don't know him personally. Obviously, don't know any of them personally. We know them as footballers, but the passion and the emotion that some of them are able to bring us is really remarkable. And I think that's really what the power of sport does. Especially this club, you have that connection to everyone. But I gave him a 10, 14 possessions, 11 marks, 3 goals, the game winning goal in the end. And just, he was clever because he got the hand to it early, knowing he wasn't going to actually get the ball with the first touch. And he just got a little hand to it to make sure the ball flicked up at him at the right time. And he's just a smart footballer. So gave him a 10. Matt Kennedy, gave him a 10. I just will not forget where he's come from, and that's the key with him. You know, it can be easier to say, oh, he's a midfielder, he should be getting 30, but 30 possessions, 7 marks, just everywhere around the ground. He's come such a long way. It's so impressive to see. I'm proud of him, and I'll keep saying it. I gave him a 10. Sam Dougherty, gave him a 10. Everyone gets a fucking 10 here. I thought he was our best player on the day. I wanted to give it to Jack Silvani, but I thought Dougherty's last 10 to 15 minutes just skyrocketed him up in terms of how I saw the player of the game. What are you going to say? What are you going to say? 33 possessions, 13 marks, 3 tackles, used the ball at 87%. I mean, he's a hero. He is. He's a fucking hero, this guy. I don't know, he just makes me speechless. Just what he does for us now. And I feel like I said this in my review, he's become like the spirit of the group. I know Jack Silvani has that as well, and even Cripps does, but Dougherty's got this, when things are tough, he's the one lifting. That's real leadership from him. I'm so happy for him, and I hope he stays healthy and has good luck from here on in, and gets to see out the rest of his career, however long that's going to be, with full health, because he's one that deserves it. I think they all do, but given what Doc's been through, it's really cool to see him play like that, and I'm just so relieved for him. So gave him a 10. Zach Fisher, it wasn't until I kind of watched it again that I realised he was pretty solid. At the 16 touches, 5 tackles, went at 81% disposal efficiency. He's playing in that half-forward role, pushes up into the midfield at times. And I think he's another one that's just coming along nicely. Definitely has a bit more to offer, I think. But I gave him an 8 for his game. Thought he lifted a little bit later in the game. He set up Jack Silvani's goal at the end there with a really cleverly weighted handball, which just went in front of Jack enough to allow him time and space to set up that goal. So, yeah, I gave Fish an 8. Like I said, he's working hard. He and Lockie O'Brien and Will Setterfield, I think all 3 of them, probably more so Setterfield and O'Brien, they're back on that right trajectory. But it's just good to see Fish, first of all, healthy. When he's healthy, I just don't see how he's not in our best 22. I think he's too good of a contributor. He's way too creative. He's way too good to not be in this 22. So I just hope, again, he's had some ankle issues in the past. I hope that those hold up, and I wish him some good health as well, because I think he's going to keep building and getting better and better. So those are my player ratings. I'd like to ask you to finish them off in the comments below. Let me know. Do some of them need to be higher? Do some of them need to be lower? And if so, which ones, and what would you have scored them? So we'll have a chat about it in the comments, and we'll go from there. Enjoy it, and go the Mighty Blues.